You've walked out of that salon chair, looked in the mirror, and something just felt wrong. Not bad exactly, just older than you expected, than you deserved. And nobody could quite explain why. Let's fix that. Because the right haircut after 50 is not about following trends. It is about knowing which 5 specific cuts are quietly taking years off women's faces right now, and which ones are doing the opposite. I research worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women, so you get simple, proven transformations that work instantly. Today we're perfecting 5 haircuts that make older women look instantly younger after 50. And by part 3, you'll want to pause and look in the mirror. I mean it. We're covering 5 haircuts, from the soft layered bob to the curtain fringe lob. And part 4 alone has changed how 3 women I know felt walking out of the salon. If you're new here, subscribe now. Because the very first haircut? It is the one stylists almost never suggest unprompted. Let's go. 1. The soft layered bob. Have you ever left the salon with a haircut that looked polished on the mannequin but somehow heavier on you? That is not your face. That is the cut. Here is the truth most people skip over. A blunt one-length bob, though it looks clean and sophisticated in magazines, actually flattens the face at exactly the wrong angles after 50. When your jaw softens and your cheekbones shift, a blunt edge stops lifting and starts dragging. Your natural elegance gets buried under weight you never asked for. The soft layered bob is what your bone structure has been waiting for. What makes this cut so powerful is the layering, specifically around the face. Layers that begin at the cheekbone and sweep softly downward create a natural frame that pulls the eye upward. That upward pull is everything. It mimics a subtle lift that takes a full decade off your appearance without touching a single thing on your face. Honestly, this is the cut I wish someone had pointed a stylist toward on behalf of every woman I know over 50. If you have been wearing your hair blunt at the jaw for years, that is completely understandable. It is the default cut most stylists reach for when they are not sure what else to suggest. The fix is simple. Ask your colorist for soft internal layers and a subtle face framing section that starts at the top of the cheekbone. Not a shag. Not a heavy fringe. Just a whisper of movement where the frame begins. Swap the blunt jaw length cut for a layered version at the same length, and watch how differently your cheekbones read. Swap flat, unshaped ends for just a touch of beveling, and your whole silhouette lifts. That is the difference between a cut that sits and a cut that sings. This one is everything. Maintenance is simple. A light gloss treatment every 6 to 8 weeks keeps those layers looking fresh and bright without adding bulk. Ask for a clear or warm tint, never cool. There is a second cut on this list that almost nobody talks about, and it is doing more to lift the face than this one. Stay with me because part 2 is the one that surprises everyone. 2. The textured pixie with soft crown. Bold statement first. Short hair, done right, is the most flattering choice a woman over 50 can make. But most women are not doing it right. Here is what happens. A pixie cut that is cut too uniform, too tight at the crown, and too severe around the temples creates a silhouette that reads sharp rather than soft. And sharp, after 50, does not read as edgy. It reads as harsh, and it draws the eye straight to areas most women prefer to minimize. The textured pixie with a soft crown changes every one of those problems in a single cut. The secret is volume where it counts. When the crown is left slightly longer and texturized upward, it adds height to the face, elongating it beautifully. When the sides are tapered but not shaved, there is softness rather than severity. And when just a few wispy pieces graze the temples and forehead, the entire face looks more open, more radiant. Your eyes, those beautiful eyes, red twice as bright when the frame around them has air in it. Swap a severe all-over cropped pixie for a textured version with intentional height at the crown. You will feel the difference the moment your stylist dries it. Swap heavy, solid temple sections for light wisps that graze the skin. The face immediately softens. This is the cut that made a friend of mine stop mid-conversation and ask what I had done differently. She had not changed her makeup. She had not changed her clothes. She had changed her crown volume. That is it. The key here is finding a stylist who understands texture. Ask specifically for a razor-finished crown and lived-in movement at the temples, not a clippered finish. The difference between those two instructions is the difference between a pixie that looks intentional and one that looks accidental. Yes, that's specific. Maintenance is part of what makes this cut work so well. It holds its shape beautifully between cuts, but needs a trim every 5 to 6 weeks to keep the taper clean and the crown lifted. A small investment that pays enormous dividends every morning you get dressed. And now part 3. Because if you have ever wondered why some women seem to walk into a room and the light follows them, it is almost always one specific cut. And I am about to tell you exactly what it is. 3. The face framing curtain fringe lob. You have probably seen this on someone and thought, she looks incredible, but I could never. Stop right there. Because that thought is exactly what this part is about to change. The curtain fringe lob is working on faces over 50 in a way that almost nothing else does. Here is the insight that most people miss. As the forehead lengthens slightly with age and the hairline shifts, an unframed face begins to feel exposed rather than open. The forehead reads wider. The eyes sit lower in the overall composition. And no amount of contouring fully corrects what the right fringe fixes in about 4 inches of hair. The curtain fringe, specifically the soft, parted in the middle version, does something almost architectural. It brings the eye down from the forehead and refocuses attention directly on the eyes and cheekbones. That is where your natural elegance lives. That is where you want every eye in the room to land. Honestly, I tell every woman I speak to about this. If you have been avoiding a fringe because of a bad experience in the past, this is not that fringe. This is softer, lighter, and almost entirely forgiving. Swap a blank, fringe-free lob for this curtain version, and your eyes suddenly look lifted, wider, and more defined. Swap heavy blunt bangs for the soft curtain shape, and your face reads fresher and younger in every photo. There is one technique that changes how your entire face reads in photographs. And it takes your stylist exactly one additional snip during your regular appointment to add. The curtain fringe is that technique. The lob length itself should sit just below the collarbone, long enough to give the neck elegance, short enough to keep the silhouette modern. Ask your stylist to keep the fringe at brow level, not below it. Below brow fringe flattens the face. Brow level fringe lifts it. That distinction matters more than almost any other instruction you will ever give in a salon chair. Maintenance is easy. The curtain fringe grows gracefully and can be pinned back effortlessly on days you want to change. A trim every 6 to 8 weeks alongside your regular lob appointment keeps everything balanced and intentional. Part 4 is the one I get the most messages about, because it covers the cut that women have been told does not work on their face shape. And it turns out that is completely wrong. 4. The voluminous silver shag. Let's be honest about something. Volume is not a luxury after 50. It is a necessity. And most women are not getting nearly enough of it from their cut. You have spent real time blow drying, using products, layering heat tools, and by midday, the hair falls flat again. That is not your routine failing you. That is the architecture of your cut not supporting what your hair naturally wants to do. The silver shag is built for exactly this moment in your hair's life. Here is the surprising truth. Silver and gray hair actually has a coarser, more textured strand structure than pigmented hair. And that texture is a shag cut's best friend. The natural roughness of silver hair holds layers and movement in a way that younger, pigmented hair simply cannot replicate. Your silver is not a problem. It is an advantage. This cut works by removing weight from the interior of the hair rather than the ends. That is the key distinction. When your stylist carves out weight from underneath, through point cutting and internal texturizing, the surface hair suddenly has room to lift, move, and breathe. The result is fullness that does not need product to exist. Swap a flat, one-weight medium cut for a layered silver shag, and you will notice the difference within the first 24 hours of wear. Before you even reach for your round brush, swap a single-length style for feathered layers that begin at the crown, and your hair starts doing the heavy lifting instead of your styling routine. This is the one that made a client of a stylist I know cry happy tears in the salon chair. She had been fighting her hair for 6 years. She just needed this cut. The shag does not work on every face the same way. And that is why the framing pieces matter enormously. Ask your stylist to keep the face framing sections soft and long enough to graze the jaw. That length at the jaw creates a natural oval framing effect that flatters every face shape over 50 without exception. Maintenance is straightforward. A light texturizing spray applied to slightly damp hair and left to air dry is all this cut needs most mornings. Trim every 7 to 8 weeks to keep the feathering from collapsing into weight. Part 5 is the cut you have probably never heard named out loud. And it is the one that the top stylists working with mature women are recommending more than anything else right now. 5. The tapered crown bob with nape definition. Here is the thing about this cut. Most women have never heard it described this way. But the moment you see it on someone, you know exactly what it is. And you wonder why nobody told you sooner. The tapered crown bob is what happens when a classic bob grows up. It keeps the elegance of a traditional bob silhouette, but introduces two crucial elements that the standard version completely ignores: a tapered lifted crown and a clean, defined nape. Together, those two elements create a cut that is architectural, modern, and deeply flattering to mature faces in a way that few other haircuts can match. Here is why this ages so many women without their knowing. When the back of the hair is left blunt and heavy all the way to the nape, it adds visual weight to the lower half of the head. That weight visually shortens the neck. And a shortened neck, no matter how beautiful your face, pulls the whole silhouette downward. A defined nape does the opposite. It exposes the neckline, creates length, and suddenly the jawline, neck, and collarbone all read as one graceful continuous line. Your neck has always been elegant. This cut simply reveals it. Honestly, the nape definition alone, that clean, beveled edge at the back, is something I wish every woman over 50 had in her cut right now. It is that transformative. Swap a flat, shapeless traditional bob for this tapered version, and you gain height, neck length, and structure all in one appointment. Swap a blunt, unclean nape for a defined beveled edge, and the entire back of the cut comes alive with elegance. There is a specific instruction that gets this cut right every time, and most women never think to give it. Ask your stylist to bevel the nape rather than clip it flat. Beveling creates a softly curved edge that frames the neck rather than cutting across it bluntly. That one instruction is the difference between a bob that looks dated and a bob that looks editorial. Structure is everything with this cut. Maintenance is a touch higher than the other cuts on this list. Plan for a trim every 5 weeks to keep the nape line crisp and the crown taper clean. But the daily payoff in confidence and polish makes every appointment entirely worth it. And now the outro. Because you just did something most women spend years trying to figure out alone. You just learned 5 specific haircuts: the soft layered bob, the textured pixie, the curtain fringe lob, the silver shag, and the tapered crown bob, that the most flattering modern stylists are recommending for mature women right now. And you know exactly which one fits your face, your lifestyle, and your natural elegance. You didn't just watch a video. You walked out of this knowing more than most women learn from 10 salon appointments combined. Now here is my question for you, and I genuinely want to know. Which of these 5 cuts are you walking into your next salon appointment to ask for? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Next time, we are going into the biggest color mistake women over 50 are making. And it is the one that ages the face faster than any cut ever could. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.